The summer before last summer, I would go out there every single day at the beach and just lay out day after day. Actually, it was probably every summer since I was 11. Every summer since 11.
The sun, the surf, the sand. A lot of teens love to get out in the sun. They may think that a tan looks healthy, but the reality is, too much sun is dangerous.
Skin cancer, sun damage.
And that maybe in the future, your skin will get all wrinkly.
But certainly we're seeing adolescents doing more sunbathing, more tanning.
As bad as too much sun can be for your skin, tanning beds can be even worse.
This is the spectrum of light, which is dangerous in suntan booths. Those energy values are 10 to 15 times higher than the noonday sun.
A lot of my friends go, and I always yell at them, and I tell them that it's not good for you and they're gonna get cancer.
Most teens don't really worry about sunburn. They're just really concerned about how their tan looks.
And that casual attitude is becoming an increasing health risk.
Skin cancer is really becoming an epidemic these days.
The data is showing an increased number of all cases of melanoma in the United States. In 1973, the number was approximately 6 to 7 per 100,000. And in 1997, the number was up to 22 per 100,000. So there's almost been a tripling of the incidence of melanoma in that time.
That's one word that everybody dreads to hear is cancer and that you have it.
But will most teens really listen to the warnings?
You know, there are only a few guarantees in life, and I'm going to give you one of them. Those tanning booths are going to damage and hurt you, usually earlier in your lifetime than you want.
You get severe wrinkling very early. I see girls in their 20s who look like they're 40 now. Sometimes the teenagers will respond more to the fact that they're going to look terrible at age 25.
Still, it's difficult to get teens to think about long-term health risks.
The teenage years are difficult because it is so popular to have a tan, and there's a lot of peer pressure. During the teenage years, we think that nothing can ever harm us. So it's very difficult to try to convince them that it is important for sun protection.
Why might teens ignore long-term health risks when making health-related decisions? Your hearing. What kinds of behaviors put it at risk? When William and his buddies load into a truck, they don't want to ride. They just want to cruise and listen to music.
Probably about 1,000 going to the subs and 300 going to the highs.
Meanwhile, Brittany and her friend Sarah are getting an earful at a rock concert.
No, I don't worry about my hearing.
No, I don't really ever think of the risks.
But there are risks.
And unfortunately, we don't feel the damage as it happens. It's damage that builds up and over time can permanently damage the hearing that we have.
And a study by the CDC says 13% of children and teens ages 6 to 19 suffer from some degree of noise-induced hearing loss.
Well, what typically happens for an ear that's exposed to loud noises, particularly on a repetitive basis, is that you have cumulative damage to the main sensory cells within your ear to the point where you lose, particularly in the higher tones, a little bit along the way until you, when tested 10, 15 years later, you notice that you have noticeable deficits in your ability to understand certain things.
And some teens already are feeling the damage.
I can't hear so well out on my left side.
I seem to have already lost a little bit over the 2 years I've listened to my stereo system.
Back at the rock concert, the girls admit they're among the vast majority of teens who don't use ear protection. Why not? Brittany says peer pressure is part of the reason.
Just because nobody else does it, I don't want to be the only one. It's not cool. It's not, really. Because everybody else will be like, looking at you.
But the girls admitted the concert noise affected their hearing.
We walked out during the little halftime, and it was different. I could hear everything, but It was a little foggy kind of hearing, like if your ears were popped.
It was really hard to hear. Like you could hear everything, but it was really, really soft.
Ultimately, doctors say teens need to be aware of the risk of long-term damage.
It actually is what happens during childhood and early adulthood, which sets you on the path towards early hearing loss versus maintaining good hearing throughout much of your adult life. Being aware of that is crucial. So protecting your ears early and often is really your best course of action in terms of protecting your hearing.
And he says there's a way for teens to protect their ears and still be cool.
There are a number of different colors and consistencies to the devices, and I'm sure that if most children were able to see the full range of products that were available, they would find something that would fit their needs.
Sleep or lack of sleep, how can it affect your health? These days, teens are getting less and less sleep, and it's starting to take a toll on some of them. It's 6:54 a.m., and less than 7 hours after going to bed, Sarah's up again, getting ready for another hectic day. Sarah's a competitive swimmer and often practices before school.
I like to get about 10 hours of sleep a night. That'd be good.
But how much does she actually get?
6, maybe. It kind of depends on if I have swim practice in the morning or how late I was studying the night before. But I guess about 6.
It's a very common problem. Teenagers tend to require more sleep, maybe 9, 10 hours on the average.
What are some of the problems associated with too little sleep?
Change in performance in terms of grades. Socially, are they becoming more antisocial or irritable, difficult to deal with? Those would be some things in the daytime, or just the fact that they're tired and they're nodding off.
I'm incredibly grouchy, and I just feel awful. Like, I don't think there's any point in falling asleep in school all day and going to swim practice, not getting anything out of it if you feel awful.
But Sarah's busy life isn't going to change anytime soon.
Because I have to finish schoolwork and I have to go to swim practice. You can't blow off schoolwork at the school I go to. Especially now. I have a year before I go off to college, so I need to keep up my work.
So how can overtaxed teens get more sleep?
You'd probably want to first try to organize the sleep time and get rid of behaviors at night that allow you to maintain wakefulness. Things like television, radios, activities on computers and games that maintain alertness and awareness. Those are things you want to get out of the bedtime around an hour before bedtime.
Sarah understands that, but she also knows there are times when she has to allow her body to catch up.
I can go to bed as early as possible. When I get to feel like that, or I take a day off, which is not usually wanted, but I take it off of swimming and take a nap.
And she keeps her busy life in perspective.
If I decided that I was going to stop going to morning practice and stop getting up early, then there'd be no point in swimming. Because if you do something, you have to do it all the way. You can't just do it halfway.
Your teeth. Of course, brushing and flossing are important. But what other behaviors can affect your dental health? Brushing and flossing regularly greatly reduces the chance of cavities and gum disease. But it doesn't eliminate the risk, and that risk can come from unexpected sources. Take sports drinks. They're very popular these days, but they can pose an unintended health hazard. In fact, research in a dentistry journal shows they may be far worse for your teeth than even sugary sodas. Why?
They're loaded with carbohydrates and they're loaded with acids. And to our surprise of everybody, the acids are actually a big part at causing enamel erosion.
The acid strips calcium from the enamel of the teeth.
So it pretty much washes away your enamel. And you only have 2 millimeters of enamel normally. So you're not allowed to lose much of it.
She says if you decide to drink sports drinks, use a straw.
If you drink it through a straw, it just goes to the back, and the only teeth that may be affected will be your back teeth.
And always drink water afterwards. Her other advice to teens?
Moderation is the key, but if you use proper oral hygiene and you use it sparingly, you'll be okay.
Your skin. Aside from avoiding the sun, what other decisions can affect your health?
I skied out Sparkles Party. We had some cool friends.
Rachel says she made a big mistake when she was 16. She wanted a tattoo. even though she knew she couldn't get one legally from a licensed tattoo artist.
You have to be 18 to go get, professionally done. So I got a homemade tattoo. So there was bleeding, and the ink didn't go directly into my skin. We had to go over it many times.
Even with those problems, she thought it was no big deal. Her parents were against it, but she didn't let that stop her.
The main reason I got a tattoo was trying to be cool. I always wanted to be older and do what the older people did.
But that feeling didn't last.
The day after I got my tattoo, I did not like it. I realized I made a mistake.
Rachel regrets her decision to get a tattoo tremendously.
I'm embarrassed by my tattoo, basically. It's a sign of stupidity in my youth.
Now, she's going through the painstaking and expensive process of tattoo removal.
It's $100 a treatment.
And she's gone 9 times in a year. That's $900 and counting.
I know several people that have some tattoos and that would love to get them removed. Homemade tattoos on their hands, on their arms. They would love to have the opportunity that I have to get it removed.
Rachel's experience shows that deciding to get a tattoo is a decision you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. Because the only way to remove a tattoo
1, 2, 3
is to go through the pain and expense Rachel is going through.
It's been really awful. It's been painful, and it's taken a long time.
Rachel even asked her younger sister to come along with her to watch the latest laser removal.
Because, I didn't want her to make the same mistakes as I have. And to just see that tattoos are permanent. I mean, there's surgery today, but they'll even tell you that it will not come off completely. You can have it faded, you can, do whatever, but it's never going to come off completely.
Masha used to lie out in the sun and use tanning beds. She never worried about what that repeated exposure might do to her. Until one day,
when I found out that my dad had cancer, it made a huge impact on me whether or not to tan or not in the sun.
Family history is a risk factor for many types of cancer, including skin cancer. Masha realized that what happened to her dad could one day happen to her, and she decided it wasn't worth the risk to keep tanning.
It just made me realize that it was pointless,
Ryan knows that now too. When he was 13, he noticed a strange mole on his scalp.
Just started growing and changing color, so Mom took me to the hospital to get it taken off.
In Ryan's case, melanoma didn't take years to develop. It happened when he was 13. Melanoma can be deadly when it spreads, first to the lymph nodes, then to organs like the lungs and the brain.
At the point that melanoma begins to spread, it becomes a very difficult disease to treat.
For Ryan, the disease did spread to his lymph nodes.
It was hard because, you have to get shots and stuff and go on. And sometimes it's really bad because after the surgery, you'll think that that's the way your face is going to look like forever, and then you're just going to be sad. That's how I was when my face first got all cut up, and I thought that's the way I was going to look for the rest of my life.
Ryan had several risk factors. For one, he never wore sunscreen, and Ryan's genetics also played a role.
He is very fair. He's very blonde. He has very fair skin.
He always burned. I did want him to wear sunscreen. A lot of times he forgot.
I wish I would have put sunscreen every time I went to the beach or the pool, or when I was out for a long period of time.
Everyone thinks it's not going to happen to you. You don't think, something simple as playing outside and kids having fun, that there could be consequences behind it.
After surgery to remove cancerous lymph nodes and chemotherapy, Ryan's been declared cancer-free. But he still must take shots of the anti-cancer drug interferon. And his doctor says Ryan will always need to avoid the sun.
So he is someone that we are going to have to watch long-term for recurrence of the melanoma. And melanoma is not something that just comes back within 5 years. Melanoma has recurred at 20 years out. So it's something that he's going to have to watch for the rest of his life.
Now, Ryan has a warning for teens who aren't worried about the damaging effects of the sun.
All those kids out there that don't want to wear sunscreen, better think twice because it's not a cool thing to have. It's really painful.
List 5 personal care habits that could affect your future health. What changes should you make?